get down to business. Thanks for coming out tonight.
I wrote me a manual, a step-by-step booklet for you to get.
Oh, I make money move.
You can't see me, my time is now.
What up, guys? Welcome back to the Fitness Times Business Podcast, the show created to provide you with the practical and strategic advice to help you level up in fitness, business, your career, your relationships, and your life. My name is Joseph Medsell. I am your host, and I'm joined for this episode of Your Four by co-host Brandon.
How's it going?
He's back.
I'm back, man.
Back from your hiatus to Europe, and it was Europe, right?
It was Europe, yeah.
All the different places in Europe.
Yeah, it was amazing, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you've been back for a little bit now, but
Yeah.
for the listeners who have missed you,
Yeah.
because it's been quite some time since we've shot an episode of Your Four, because you have been away. How was the trip?
Oh, it was everything and more, man. It was unreal. Yeah. Come back to this shitty Adelaide weather, although it was nice yesterday. It was just, shocking today, but yeah, it's good. Getting back into the swing of things, which is nice. Back into a bit of routine and stuff, so yeah.
Favorite part of your trip?
Place, Greece, man. Greece is underrated, man.
You went to Santorini, right?
No, so my partner's already been to Santorini, Mykonos, and so we went to Eos, Milos.
Yeah.
And they were just unreal. Yeah, so good.
Least favorite part?
Man, some of the Kentucky, on the Kentucky was a bit rough. Some of the places we stayed. Towards the end of Sicily, we almost got mugged. But yeah, I mean, there was highs and lows, like always. But yeah, it made it.
Well,
the lows made it.
Yeah. Well, we're happy to have you back, man, and diving straight back into another installment of Your Four. We have 4 awesome questions, and the cool thing with having such a big break in between Your 4 segments is we have a stockpile of questions that you guys have been sending through. And just on that, if you guys have a question that you would like to send through and add to the stockpile of questions that Brandon filters through and picks 4 of the best to put these episodes together, best place to send them is directly to you, right? On Instagram, at Brandon Verdi, or you can send them to me at Joseph Medsell, and I take a screenshot and just send them to Brandon anyway, and he picks the 4 best for each episode of Your 4. Brandon, we have 4 questions.
We do.
Let's get going.
Jumping straight into it with this first one.
Yeah.
Question 1. Best way to stay motivated when you have them bad days, when you don't even want to jump out of bed?
I feel like we've spoken about this a number of times in different articulations, or the question kind of being framed in different ways. But this is this comes back to the fact that motivation is unreliable, or motivation is fake, is probably the best way to describe it.
Yep.
Motivation comes and goes, it ebbs and flows, and often it does that for no reason at all. Some days you just wake up and you feel motivated, right? And you're just like, I'm ready, I'm good to go. I'm pumped up to do whatever it is I've got to do. And then some days, you wake up and you wake up with a headache, maybe you slept weird or some shit, and you just don't feel motivated. And it's this kind of scenario where you don't even want to jump out of bed. Let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
And all of you guys as well, listening and watching. How many days a week on average do you feel motivated?
It'd be close to none, to be honest, especially now being home. Oh man,
come back from a month-long continued tour in Europe, see what that does for your motivation.
First, but
on average, like in any given week, how many days out of 7 would you say on average you feel motivated?
Definitely more unmotivated than I feel motivated.
Yeah.
But I'm just putting a number on it. 1, 2.
Yeah.
Most of the time, not.
Man, honestly, I'm probably the same.
Yeah.
Definitely like more days that I don't feel motivated than I do feel motivated on average in any given week. And I think most people are the same, right? So if you're only relying on motivation to get shit done, you're not going to get a whole lot of shit done, right? And this is why we say motivation is fake or motivation is unreliable. So to get back to the question, the best way to stay motivated when you have them bad days, you need to take motivation and you need to throw it out the fucking window, right? Because it's unreliable, because it's fake. What you need to be doing is anchoring back into discipline and anchoring back into routines that align with and support who you're trying to become and what you're trying to accomplish, right? The definition of discipline is doing what needs to be done when you don't feel like doing it. That's the definition, right? So discipline is not supposed to be easy. It's supposed to be difficult. That's the whole point of discipline. What you can do is you can use periods of high levels of motivation to your advantage to help you build discipline and to help you build routines that you can anchor back into on the days that you don't feel motivated. So let me kind of flesh that out a little bit and explain what I mean there. The days that you do feel motivated are the days where naturally you're going to be inclined to take action, right? What you want to be using that action to do is build routines that align with who you're trying to become and what you're trying to accomplish. So that on the days when you don't feel motivated, all you have to do is follow the routine, right? All you have to do is anchor back into the shit that you know you need to do and just get it done because you built that routine when the levels of motivation had been high, right? So you can use the ebbs and flows in motivation, in particular flows in motivation, to help you build that routine. And then the days when you don't feel motivated, you know that all you have to do is anchor back into that routine, have discipline to do the shit that you know you need to do on the days that you don't feel like doing it. And that's how you get through those days.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I remember you saying a while ago that you call them, they're test days almost, aren't they?
Call them test days.
Test days.
Yeah. Yeah.
These are the days that like everything feels so difficult physically, mentally, and they're testing our strength and resilience. The ability to build those habits when your motivation is the lowest, execute regardless, will enable you to build the momentum and become like unstoppable, really.
Yeah.
But I think it's so important what you say, because you can look at people like Joe and you see the amount of shit you do and the shit you get done, and you just crush it every day. Mm-hmm. And people can look at you and be like, oh fuck, like I wish I had motivation and like that. But you saying that you're motivated very little of the time.
Very rarely.
It's huge. Yeah. And no matter where you are in life, whether you're a fucking millionaire, whether you're the happiest person on earth, like every single person on earth goes through this and feels like this. And it just comes down to execution at the end of the day, because you just need to focus on one thing. Like in the beginning as well, when you're at this low point, focus on one thing, tick that off each day. Like whether it's just something small, like going to the gym or just meditating for 10 minutes, 5 minutes, just anything small, and ticking that off every day until you can finally build those habits and those routines. That's when it's going to be more sustainable, because motivation comes and goes, like you said.
100%, man. And this is why I'm such an advocate for routines, you know, specifically morning routines, right? And this is my mindset around it, right? And I'm happy that you kind of refreshed and hung on that point where most days I don't feel motivated. Right, and you're right, like people see all the shit that I do and, you know, all the stuff that I post about and this and that and whatever, and it's very easy to fall into the trap of like, oh, you know, well, he must be highly motivated all the time to do all of that shit. The truth is, I'm definitely not highly motivated most of the time. I'm highly motivated a very small percentage of the time. What I do, this is the mindset that I have. The days when I'm highly motivated, fantastic. I'm gonna fucking crush, right? And if there's little changes that I need to make to how I'm doing things on a daily basis, that's when I'll do them. Most of the days when I'm not motivated, my mindset around it is, this is an opportunity for me to build the muscle of discipline, right? Just like when you go into the gym and you're trying to build your chest, for example. It's not fucking easy to go through and do those reps and to push past failure and to push your body past what your body naturally wants to do. When your body says stop and you go, you know, fuck it, I'm just going to put the weight down. No, you push through it. It's difficult. Discipline is like a muscle as well. You have to go through the difficulty to be able to build the muscle of discipline. So the days when I don't feel motivated, I flip my mind around. I go, well, fuck, I don't feel like doing this shit. So this is an opportunity for me to get better at doing things when I don't feel like doing them, which is the definition of discipline. So that's how I think about it.
Yeah, and it works in reverse as well. Like you say that discipline, it's like a muscle you need to work on.
Yeah.
Every day you put something aside, or you don't do something that you say you're going to do, that's also a muscle you're building. So if you keep putting off something that you need to do and you keep doing that every day and every day, it's just going to get easier and easier to keep doing that every day. And then you just become that person.
100%.
But yeah, like as much as it feels shit that you don't have the motivation now, like the motivation will come back. Obviously it will come back, it will go. You just need to like tell yourself that it's okay. I'm just going through a period of time. The motivation's not here.
Yeah.
It's going to come back, and then it'll go again, come back, go again. But it comes after taking action.
Yeah, always.
Yeah.
Next question.
Can you be a friend and a boss?
This is a really good question. Short question, but very good question. And this really kind of got me thinking when I was thinking about this question. It really kind of got me going into different levels of really kind of what aligns with friends, what aligns with good bosses, and what the differences are as well. Once again, I'm going to flick it back to you. Mm-hmm. In your opinion, what makes somebody a good friend? Just off the top of your head, like don't think too much about it. When you think, that person is a good friend, what are like some of the things that come to mind?
Someone that shows genuine care
Yep.
about you, you can just tell.
Yep.
Someone who holds you accountable.
Yep.
Tells you how it is, really.
Mm-hmm.
Just someone that you can just rely on.
Mm-hmm.
Off the top of my head.
All right. And then off the top of your head, what makes a good boss?
Probably the same things, really.
I know, right?
Yeah, I never really thought about it.
Honestly, man, because where I started, I was like, okay, first, in order to go, can you be a friend and a boss? You need to define what a friend is. You need to define what a boss is. You need to define what a good friend is. You need to define what a good boss is. You need to define what a shit friend is. You need to define what a shit boss is. And when you start kind of pulling out, okay, these are the sorts of qualities that define a good friend. The things that I come up with, similar to you, empathy, right? Kindness. A good friend is going to hold you accountable, right? They're not going to let you drop the ball on shit that they know you shouldn't be dropping the ball on. A good friend is going to be patient with you. A good friend is going to have respect for you. A good friendship is going to have clear boundaries as well around what is and is not acceptable for the friendship. That's kind of, when I think about it and I kind of scratch a little bit below the surface and I think about my good friends, those are the qualities of my good friends. And then you flip it and you go, okay, well, what are the qualities of a good boss? Well, a good boss is going to be empathetic. A good boss is going to be kind, but candid at the same time. A good boss is going to hold you accountable, of course, to what you're capable of. A good boss is going to be patient with you. A good boss is going to respect you. A good boss is going to have clear boundaries around what is and is not acceptable. The two things are exactly the fucking same. So when you dig a little deeper and you go, well, the qualities of a good friend and a good boss are exactly the same, the question kind of answers itself.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can be a friend and a boss. Yeah. For sure.
Yeah.
I guess where my mind goes from there is, okay, I'm trying to be the best boss I can be. I try and be the best friend I can be. To all of you guys, all of you who make up the team that we're building here, I try and be a good boss and a good friend to all of you. But there is a difference between how I am with my friends and then how I am with you guys as members of the team and the company that we're creating here. And when I kind of look at, okay, what is the main difference there? When the qualities are very similar, I think the main difference when I've got my boss hat on versus when I've got my friend hat on is when I'm being a boss, my ultimate duty has to be to the company, right? It has to be to what we're trying to achieve as a company. It has to be to the interests of the company as a whole, the collective interests of everybody who relies upon the company to succeed and do well. Whereas when I'm being a friend to my friends who are not involved in the team that we're creating, who are not involved in the company, really my duty is to them as a friend and to the friendship as a third entity in that relationship. So I think that's probably the nuance is, ultimately, where does your ultimate duty kind of lie? And I think when you're a boss, it needs to be to the company. When you're a friend, it needs to be to the friendship.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. I just want to touch on the boundaries part that you mentioned.
Yep.
I do think yes, but there definitely needs to be boundaries, specifically your professional boundaries. Because if you become best friends with your boss and there aren't boundaries, will they let you slack off? Will the other employees see it as favoritism?
I don't think that a good boss or a good friend would drop accountability in either direction.
But then that boss would have boundaries because they're a good boss, so they should have those boundaries.
Well, I think the boundary lies into, ultimately, where does your duty lie? I think that's really kind of what defines the difference in where the boundaries lie between a good friendship and then being a good boss.
Yeah.
Right? Because the accountability, like I think about my best friends, that I can count on one hand, they all hold me accountable. Like if I drop the ball on something, they'll call me out on it. And that to me is part of a good friendship. And then, as a boss, I'll do the same thing to you guys. So the accountability aspect, because a lot, it's an easy trap to fall into because people are like, oh, you know what? I don't really want my friends to hold me accountable like my boss does. Like if I underperform, my boss is going to pull me up on it and we're going to have an uncomfortable conversation and that's kind of the path it goes down. I don't want to have that relationship with my friends. Well, what sort of a fucking friendship is that? In my personal opinion.
Yeah.
It's just kind of how I feel about it.
Yeah, 100%. And I think being able to, like you said, change hats, flick the switch as well, to be able to separate those two is huge. I mean, you look at it, if you look at it on your point of view, separating like friends, like I'm thinking like family as well. Obviously you have family working for you, say Leah, your sister, she's been working with you for a while, and I see you being able to like change the hats and flick the switch pretty easily and just it being reciprocated very well. It's sort of similar, isn't it?
Well, friends and family is a
it's different. It's different, but just
it's
still having like two relationships, if that makes sense. Two different relationships.
And I think once again it comes down to the duty, right? Is like, when I'm the leader of the company, like ultimately I need to put the company first. Because there's a lot of people that rely upon me to do that, whether it's staff members, whether it's customers, whether it's suppliers, whether it's our creditors, there's a lot of people that rely upon you to make decisions in the best interest of the company. Whereas when I'm being a brother or I'm being a son or, I'm in the family context, well, my duty is to the well-being of the family. It has to be, right? So I think that nuance kind of plays out in any variance of the relationship.
Yeah. Have you ever... You've been in business a long time. You've been a boss a long time.
Yeah. Have
you had difficulties with this in the past, like blowing the line? Like, I don't know. Like,
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's why, I speak from experience, right? Because I've worked with family in business a lot. I've developed a lot of friendships through business, but there has been opportunities where I've been friends with people in the first instance and then brought them into the business.
Yep.
So I have had like the blurring of the different relationships. And that's kind of why, when I think about this and I kind of go, okay, through my personal experience, how do I define the difference? How are the boundaries different between the boss staff member relationship and then the friend to friend relationship? That's kind of where I'm able to draw that nuance from.
Yeah, cool.
Next question.
What are your thoughts on TRT? I see younger and younger men jumping on it.
Yeah, so straight up, it's a medical question, and I just want to be very clear that this is just my opinion on, I'm not a doctor, obviously, right? I'm not involved in the business of TRT and whatnot. So this is just purely based on my opinion and really kind of my experience in the fitness industry. I think my thoughts on TRT is I think there's a time and a place for TRT. I think that it's one of these areas of medicine that we're learning a lot more about now than we've learned previously. definitely in a much shorter period of time because it's becoming more prevalent and more people are interested in it, I guess. And so there's just more data available. I think that there's a time and a place for it. I think that the time is not when you're young, and I think that the place is not to help you improve your physique, right? And I think this is kind of where the lines get blurred here. And, and the question, I see younger and younger men jumping on it. Younger and younger men, unless there's an underlying hormonal issue, they're not, like, firstly, you don't quote unquote jump on TRT, right? Like you get prescribed TRT because you have hormonal deficiencies. So younger and younger men are not jumping on TRT, they're jumping on performance enhancing drugs. They're jumping on testosterone, is usually the first one that they'll kind of experiment with. I'm going to draw some very black and white differences between TRT and using testosterone as a performance enhancing drug. The first one, TRT, is just testosterone. TRT stands for testosterone replacement therapy, right? So if you're using other things, it's not TRT, you're using steroids. Just call it for what it is, right? That's the first difference. The second difference is an average TRT dose, and once again, this is just my opinion. I'm not prescribing things. Don't take this as gospel. I'm not a doctor. But a typical TRT dose is going to be usually 100 milligrams of a long ester testosterone per week, right? And that's probably towards the upper end. So if you're taking more than that, it's not TRT. You're taking steroids.
Steroids, yeah.
Right? Straight up. And I think generally when people are taking testosterone as a steroid for performance enhancing effects, just to pull a difference between the dosages, 100 milligrams per week is the upper end of usually what's acceptable for TRT. 500 milligrams per week is probably the bottom end of what people are using as a steroid dose. So, it's pretty easy to see, look, is this a TRT type dose? Or are you using it to try and build muscle, improve your physique, improve your performance, and in which case you're taking a performance enhancing drug and it's a steroid. So I think that, very easy to separate those two out. Some other things that I kind of think of, TRT is prescribed by a doctor and administered by a pharmacy. Steroids is a protocol given to you by some guy at the gym, and
they're not doctors in the gym? I thought they're all doctors in there.
The gym, or someone talking on YouTube or a podcast or whatever it is, and they're given to you in an empty pre-workout container in the gym car park.
In the alleyway,
right? Like, that's not fucking TRT. It's steroids. You're taking performance enhancing drugs. And I think the big one is TRT is testosterone replacement therapy. So it's designed to replace your natural production of testosterone and get it back up to like a baseline of natural testosterone production. It's never going to be enough to give you performance enhancing effects. That's the main difference between it. TRT will get you back to a baseline level of testosterone. Anything over and above that is going to be performance enhancing, but it's not TRT. It's steroids.
Yeah.
Right? So I think it's, it's really important to just really kind of pull those differences out. They're very easy to see. And I think ultimately, this younger and younger men jumping on it and calling it TRT when it's quite clearly not TRT, right? If any of those examples that I pulled out, if you're like, oh yeah, fuck, all right, I'm taking 500 milligrams a week, it's not TRT, you're taking steroids. Yeah, okay, it's not prescribed by a doctor, I'm not getting it from a pharmacy, I am listening to some advice from some fucking podcaster and my gym bro is giving it to me in the gym car park. It's not TRT, you're taking steroids. So don't hide behind, listen, you do what the fuck you want, right? I'm not here to judge. I'm not here to say, TRT is good and steroids are, like, I don't give a fuck, man. It's your body. You do with it what you want. But be very careful hiding behind the label of TRT and not understanding the risks that come along with using steroids.
Yeah.
Right? If you're going to do it, you do you. Do your fucking research. Understand the risks. Get some medical guidance, for fuck's sake. Like, don't listen to the guys at the gym because you think they know what they're talking about, or some dude on some fucking YouTube channel that is all about using fucking tren and this and that and all these different compounds that you actually don't know anything about what they're going to do.
Yep.
Over the short term, over the long term. I mean, fuck, we have no idea what a lot of these compounds are doing over the long term because no one's been using them for a long enough term for us to see. Do research. Don't call it TRT.
Yep.
You're taking steroids.
Yep.
Understand that. Understand the risks. If you're happy with the risks, do whatever the fuck you want to do.
Yeah, I agree, man. Like the question says, like, I see younger and younger men jumping on it. Quite frankly, I fucking hate seeing it. Like, I feel like, I don't know, man, like social media glorifies it a little bit. I don't know. You've been in the industry a long time, so I don't know. To me, I don't know if it's because it's so public on social media now. It feels worse than it's ever been. The age and stuff that people even just interested in talking about it. Like, these kids have barely been in the gym a year or two, and they're already talking and wanting to jump on this shit because people on TikTok are fucking talking about it, and it's just like, you haven't built the consistency, the habits.
Man, when I first got into the fitness industry, like I was kind of interested in it while I was playing basketball, but when I really got into the fitness industry was when I started competing as a natural bodybuilder, right? And back then, the only people that you would hear talk about it, use it, even like in the realm of talking about, it wasn't TRT back then, it was testosterone and steroids and performance enhancing drugs, were like very advanced bodybuilders. Like these guys were competing yearly, frequently, and that was it, right? Like it wasn't even like spoken about. Now you're 100% right. Like, guys have been training for fucking 6 months and they want to go hop on their quote unquote TRT.
I think social media has done it, and it's a mix between people like glorifying it, like TikTok pushing the algorithm because it's almost like controversial to talk about, or comparison as well. Like really just seeing these people just jacked, thinking that, I just want to look like that, like straight away, not realizing the years of work and stuff you need to put in to be able to look like that. But like you said, it's not TRT, it's PEDs, it's steroids.
Yeah.
People talking about tren and shit that don't even understand.
Tren is definitely not TRT.
Tren's not even supposed to be for humans.
Tren is testosterone suppressive. So
But yeah, like you said, there is a time and a place for it. Once you get to that age, obviously rare cases when you're younger, if you got these you got these symptoms and stuff, get your bloods done, go see a GP, get your bloods done. You'll get prescribed it if you have low testosterone. But at that age, your testosterone is supposed to be through the roof, man. And if you're not optimizing these natural ways to boost it as well, like people jump on steroids and their sleep's fucking shit, their diet shit, they're barely like
the training.
There's no stress management.
Everything's shit.
No,
and it's just like let me go and throw this quote unquote TRT in here, and I'll look like fucking Chris Bumstead or Arnold Schwarzenegger or Ronnie Coleman or whoever it is. It's just not. It just doesn't fucking work like that.
Yeah, and then jumping on it that early as well, when you haven't built the consistency in the gym, like, and your habits aren't, you haven't built the discipline, the knowledge, like mastered the basics. It's just a recipe for disaster.
100%.
I don't like it at all. So time and a place, 100%. Get your levels checked if you feel like your testosterone's low.
I think, like, just to kind of round it out, like, especially in Australia, like TRT is very difficult to get prescribed. Very difficult. Like I've spoken to guys older than me that have very low testosterone, and like, man, your testosterone has to be fucking non-existent for a doctor to give you a referral to a hormone specialist, an endocrinologist, and for them to then prescribe like, it's really hard, to get that sort of shit prescribed in Australia, at least. I think in other countries it's probably a little bit less complex. But yeah, you don't jump on TRT. You ain't jumping on that shit.
Yeah, 100%.
Last question.
If your team or an employee fails, do you take that failure personally? I found it very hard recently. On a project, my team fell well short of our expectations. I took this failure very personally, reflecting that I'd failed. Should I feel this way? Why does it affect and hurt me more than my team?
A short answer to the question, the first part of the question, do you take that failure personally? In the past, yes, definitely. And to a certain extent, I still do. It's something that I've really been consciously working on, man, I would say probably over like the last 5 years. And it was definitely amplified during the pandemic, right? When like shit was just out of fucking control. And I guess my default position has always been, and I think this is probably something that is natural to people who start businesses from real grassroots. The default position has always been extreme ownership and extreme responsibility. It's like ultimately I'm fucking responsible for everything, right? Because I started with nothing. So I was actually responsible for everything. And so it definitely amplified in the pandemic because, man, so much shit was out of control and I was trying to take responsibility and you know, for everything that was happening around me, which was a recipe for disaster. And there's definitely been something that I've, you know, like I work on this with my psychologist, is, you know, where are the boundaries between what I am and am not responsible for in the business setting. So, yeah, I definitely still do, really thinking about it now. It's still something that I still really do take personally. It's something that I'm consciously working on, trying to figure out how to hold accountability and responsibility at the same time. And I think ultimately, that is the big difference, is understanding what the difference is between responsibility and accountability. And the way, where I'm at now, the way that I tease the two out and the way that I separate the two is responsibility is task focused. So in the business setting, I'm responsible for putting the right people in the right positions and giving them the right resources to succeed, right? That's what I'm responsible for. If there's any failures along that, that's on me, right? I've either hired the wrong person or hired the right person but put them in the wrong role, or hired the right person, put them in the right role but didn't give them the resources, right? That's what I'm responsible for. Accountability is, for me, results focused. So if you're the right person and I've put you in the right role and I've given you the resources that you need to succeed, I'm not responsible for your success or your lack of success. I have to hold you accountable for that. And that's the limit for me. I got to set you up. I got to give you everything you need, put you in the right position, make sure that you can succeed, but ultimately you have to do the fucking work. And I have to hold you accountable for doing the work. Because if I could do it myself, we wouldn't be here, right? I'd be doing it myself.
Yeah.
So for me, that's where I'm at the moment, really kind of pulling these two things apart and going, okay, my responsibility starts and ends with the task-based work, and then me holding you accountable starts and ends with the results of the work that you're doing. Mm-hmm. And so I pull myself up right in the middle of those two and go, okay, Brandon, you're the right guy. You're in the right position. You've got everything you need to succeed. It's up to you now.
Yeah.
Get me the results. Mm-hmm. And if you don't, well, that's not on me. That's on you.
Yeah.
That's where I'm at with it.
Yeah. Look, I don't really have anything to add to that. You've covered it really well, and just seeing that aspect of it, like you sort of need to ask as well, like how do you know like your team isn't hurting from the failure? Like just because you're hurting and you've taken it like that, like how do you know they're not kicking themselves for it?
Well, they should be.
Yeah.
You know, if you've done a good job building a culture,
yeah,
you know, you win together, you lose together.
Yeah, exactly. And if they're not, then like you said, you've obviously hired the wrong people, or you've got them in the wrong role,
or you haven't developed your company culture to a point where there's joint responsibility for the completion of the task, right? You don't have the kind of defined roles, you know, like ultimately, man, like if you've got people in your team that don't give a fuck about the performance of the team as a whole, you've got the wrong people in your team.
100%.
Or you've got the right people, but you just don't have the right company culture.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
like it's such an important part of what we do here.
Yeah.
Like we fucking win together. We go to battle together. If we lose together. We lick each other's fucking wounds. And then we flip that shit. We learn our lessons. We put the lessons in play and then we win together. You know, it has to be shared.
Yeah. It's
Or else,
extreme
or else
ownership.
it's not a team, it's a group of individuals doing whatever the fuck they want.
Yeah.
No one's holding each other accountable, no one gives a fuck. And then ultimately as a leader, yeah, you are responsible for everything because you fucked up with the task-based stuff. You had the wrong people in the wrong positions without the resources they needed to succeed, which is why they don't give a fuck about the end result, ultimately.
Yeah. Good shit.
That's a wrap.
That's it.
4 questions. Man, it's good to have you back, Brendan.
It's good back. Good being back, man. And we've changed so much in the fucking hell, where are we?
I know. Funny, those of you who are watching the video version of this podcast, you'll be happy to know the video version has come back, but you'll also notice that we're not sitting in the boardroom. We've got a change of scenery at the moment. And I think those of you listening probably have picked up on the audio is a little bit different as well.
Probably can tell I'm shivering a little bit as well. Like I got these fresh, brand new hoodies on.
How about these TMJ Apparel Athletic Culture hoodies though?
fuck.
Shit, yeah,
Fresh.
awesome. Brandon,
Thank you.
thank you so much. Guys, thank you for tuning in. As I mentioned, if you have a question that you'd like to send in for the next episode of Your For, shoot across to Brandon at Brandon Verdi on Instagram, or you can shoot it across to me at Joseph Mansell on Instagram. The one thing that we ask in return for these episodes, if you get value, if you've had a laugh, if it has made your transit to work feel a little bit shorter than it is because you've had us on in the background, the one thing we ask in return is that you guys share the show. One of the best ways we love seeing the show shared is to take a screenshot on your favorite podcasting platform, post that in your Instagram story, tag Brandon, tag myself. We see those tags. We appreciate them. We'll reshare them for you guys as well. So, Brandon, thank you. Awesome to have you back. Guys, you could have been anywhere in the world right now, but you're here with us. We appreciate that. Until next time, we'll catch you on the flip side.
Thank you guys so much for tuning in to this episode. We hope you enjoyed listening. A couple of things to round out. Firstly, if you've yet to subscribe to the Fitness Times Business podcast on your favorite podcasting platform, make sure you do that right now so you don't miss any future episodes. Secondly, if you guys took some value from this episode, the one thing we ask in return is that you share the show. And finally, if you've yet to leave us a 5-star rating, make sure you do that before the next episode.